Hey, what is going on everyone? Welcome back to another Clash Royale video, and in today's video we are going to be taking a look at the 2v2 cannon card draft challenge. Now this challenge has proven to be quite difficult for just about everyone that I've encountered really so far. It took quite a number of people who I know to be pretty good to really get far in it. In fact, some people I know that are pretty darn good only got like 2 or 3 wins, and even myself really, after playing around a few times, I did and my challenge at 2 or 3 wins like on my other accounts, but my first attempt I did go to 10 wins. The reason why my challenge ended at 10 wins was because halfway through one of my first matches, the apps on my phone started updating, so that was a bit of lag there, as you can tell. And then in another match somewhere halfway through my entry, the server began to lag and I was not able to see what was going on in the match, and I could not place any troops, etc. So what I was seeing was different from what was actually going on. And then, well, on my 11th match really, I basically got a teammate that was pretty darn sucky, so he costed us the game when we just need a little bit of chip damage really to just come back, and we would have won. But anyways, that's in the past. Enough ranting for now, let's get right to it. Okay folks, since this challenge is about the new cannon card, let's talk about this card. So the cannon card is going to be an epic card which will be unlocked in Arena 10. Finally folks, they're adding more cards to that arena there. They left it like a blank slate basically the entire time, so who knows, maybe in time they might add cards to Legendary Arena as well. We'll never know until the time comes. So yeah, the cannon card, it is going to come at a cost of 5 elixir. It is going to be basically a cannon on wheels, and it moves pretty fast and is a ranged attacker. Now additionally, it also comes with a shield, so this means that you can't really rocket it down in one go. It will actually have to go through the shield and then whittle down its HP, kind of like a Dark Prince really when you think about it there. So now let's discuss some of the raw stats. So folks, the cannon card is gonna have a base damage of 203, a small amount of hit points which would be 696. Its shield points are also the same. Its hit speed is 1.2. It is a fast troop and it deploys in 1 second, plus it has the same range as an ice wizard, which would be 5.5 tiles. Now when you think about this card really, it has a few aspects of several cards that we have come to know over the course of playing the game. So it's actually similar to the Dark Prince because it has a shield which can help buffer some damage, and the shield is actually gonna be similar to the stats of the witch really, like in terms of the raw number. Its HP and shield points are just roughly similar to the health that a witch has, or a musketeer even. Now the hit points on the shields and the cannon card itself are gonna scale exactly the same as they level, kind of like the skeletons, and the base damage of the card itself is gonna be very similar to that of a lumberjack or a musketeer. Now its attack speed is gonna be quite like the archers because it has like that 1.2 seconds attack speed, and where its movement speed is concerned, it is gonna be similar to that of the skeletons, minions, baby dragon, or even the mini P.E.K.K.A. So just picture the rate at which these cards move across the map, and that's how fast the cannon card will move while it is on its wheels. Now its range is going to be 5.5 tiles, so that's basically going to be the same range as an ice wizard there. And with that folks, that will conclude our comparisons of the cannon card to some of the current cards in the game right now. So now that we've taken a look at the cannon card itself, let's take a look at the event. So the event again is going to be falling under the month of 2v2, and you're going to be pairing up with random teammates who may or may not have much skill at all, and it's also going to be draft again. So Supercell loves draft, I love draft, but I do not like draft with 2v2 that much for these particular challenges, especially if it's going to be for a legendary card. That is going to be pretty darn scary, so let's just pray that they just make it a 1v1 challenge or something like that, or that you can bring your teammates in with you. So let's get right to the tips. First start off with 2v2 as usual, and then we'll talk about some of the drafting tips. So our first 2v2 tip will be taking your time with your partner and playing your cards. So you'll want to manage your elixir quite efficiently, similar to like what you would do in the 1v1 modes, but it's going to be a little bit different because, I mean, of course, you're playing with a partner and you're playing against 2 opponents, so there's going to be a bit more cards on the field, so just make careful decisions when defending or pushing. It can really help out. And our next tip is gonna be to drag or hover your cards in advance to indicate to your partner just your general thought process. And by doing this, you can just form a quick plan really, or just get a message across. Even if you speak English and let's say your partner speaks Arabic, Spanish, Dutch, anything like that, who knows? I mean, your partner is very random, they can be from anywhere around the world. So just by hovering your cards really, I'm pretty sure that you can give them a good idea of what you have in mind. If they don't understand that either, well, good luck with that. But I'm just working with the assumption that your partner is a bit competent, maybe at least. So just bear with me here, folks. So yeah, just drag your cards, hover them, try to show what you want to do, and give your partner a signal of some kind. Sometimes, like when I hover a minor, my partner usually has a hog rider in hand. So if you can get something like that going and just maybe ready arrows when they have their hog rider going to the tower or something like that, it can work out pretty good and just pay off in the long run. So folks, our next tip for the 2v2 really bit of this is gonna be to keep track of your partner's card rotation. So you can do this by viewing their hand at any point in time during the match. All you need to do is click that little button that's in the right corner of the screen there. You'll see that with their name, just touch that and you'll see what cards they have in hand. So by doing this, you can really just form a plan to really know if you can handle something on defense really or offense. Now usually this matters more for defense because that's when you really need to count on your partner more than just on offense. So yeah, just do that there and you can just form a plan for the long run to figure out what you can do at any point in time and just save your butts a little bit longer and maybe even come out with the win. And our next tip is actually going to be the last one for the 2v2 bit of this, and it is going to be one of the most important tips that I can afford to give you all here today. So this tip is basically just to keep track of your partner's elixir count. Now if you recall what I just said about looking at your partner's hand at all points in time that you can, you'll be able to actually help keep track of their elixir count. So to do this, just look at what card that you want to be able to just get them to use really, or you might need them to use. And let's say this card is going to be a Royal Giant, for instance. So the Royal Giant costs 6 elixir there, and just pay attention to the card portrait and look at the card being filled up with color or being refreshed. So if it has been about halfway refreshed there, or is halfway filled with gray or color really there, that means that your partner has roughly 3 elixir at that moment in time. So that can just help you out, just to give an idea of if your partner can really afford to help you out in any moment, or you're gonna have to just defend yourself. So yeah, just make it a habit really to keep track of your partner's elixir there, and you can always know when you should be able to do this and when you should be able to do that, and when it's best to do this and when it's best not to do that as well. So yeah, just keep track of the elixir there and you should be able to just pull off a lot more things than usual. So that concludes our 2v2 tips, and now folks, we're gonna be moving on to our drafting tips now. Alrighty folks, so since this is gonna be a draft challenge as well, let me just say up front that choosing your cards very carefully at the start of the match basically helps determine how the match may progress. So choosing the right cards may actually help win half the war, so to say. So our first tip is gonna be to basically just let your partner draft first. So while they're drafting, keep a close eye on what they take for themselves and what they give your enemies. So by doing this here, you can just get a clear idea of what you're dealing with and what you're working with at the same time. So once your partner is done drafting, or at least they've chosen, let's say, 3 out of 4 cards, then you can begin drafting safely a little bit and look at the cards that you have and what they gave again, and just think about what would work better. For instance, if your partner took a golem maybe, and you have the option of a mini P.E.K.K.A. or spear goblins, or I don't know, a mini P.E.K.K.A. or a minor maybe, the mini P.E.K.K.A. might be better in that circumstance there, because the mini P.E.K.K.A. is going to be a hard counter to the golem there, or maybe fireball or poison there. Generally poison is a must-have in 2v2, so yeah, go with that. And now for our next tip. So you're going to want to take at least 1 to 2 win conditions when you're drafting. So win conditions can include a hog rider, a minor, golem, royal giant, P.E.K.K.A., any of those things that can help you just get some serious damage done or just help you get any damage done at all on the tower almost directly. So our next tip is gonna be, actually, before we move on to the next tip, let me just make one thing very clear. When you're choosing your win conditions and stuff, be very sure of what you take, because one wrong decision can mean having something that only targets building in your hand at almost all points in time. So for example, if you take giant, royal giant, golem, and maybe a balloon or something, chances are you're not going to be able to defend very well. So stick within, let's say, 1 to 2 win conditions for your own personal benefit there, and maybe let your partner have 1 win condition or 2 of his own. So that can work out a little bit better, but generally 1 or 2 is a safe number for both of you to work with on the whole. Now our next tip is going to be for countering. So when you are drafting cards, you're going to want to set yourself up for success, right? Because who wants to set themselves up for a loss, right? Not me, not you, not anyone that is right in their senses. So to set yourself up for success, you're going to want to take cards that you can adequately counter at any given point in time. So for example, really, if your opponents were given the minion horde by you, you better damn well take that poison spell. And if you give your opponents the goblin barrel, please, if you have any sense at all, take the arrows. And just by doing this, you'll be able to keep your opponents in check from using some of their cards, and by denying them from using these cards, really, you can just keep everything going in your favor, really. So you can just worry them a lot and just stop them from doing something that may otherwise be very, very concerning. So yeah, just do that and you'll be good to go. Now some other examples of taking hard counters would be like the Three Musketeers. If you have Three Musketeers and Lightning, I would generally opt for the Lightning. However, pay very, very, I repeat, very close attention to what cards that you are giving them, because if you give them something like a Battle Ram or they have an Ice Golem and Knight, they can actually soak up the damage from the Lightning spell. So in that case, if they do have those cards, take the Three Muskets, guys, and pray for the best. Remember to split them and things will generally work out better there. And now folks, our next tip is gonna be taking cards that require specific counters. So some of these cards would include the Goblin Barrel, the Inferno Dragon or Tower really, but mostly the Dragon I guess, and the Bandit. So these cards are very versatile really, and they need something very specific to counter them. The Inferno Dragon usually needs swarm cards such as minions, barbarians maybe if it walks, or minion horde, anything like that. And the bandit needs lots of swarms as well that walk. So these cards can just be potentially very deadly for your opponents if they do not have the right cards in rotation, or they are broke on elixir. So either way, they can help you get a quick advantage over your opponent if the situation calls for them to be used. So yeah, just look out for those cards and they can help you out quite a lot. However, if you're going to take the Goblin Barrel, be very careful and mindful if you give your opponent something like the Fire Spirits, Skeletons, Goblin Gang, Skeleton Army, or the Minions, or yeah, because those cards are generally the same cost as the Goblin Barrel or less, so anything above that is actually good if they are going to counter it. So if you give your opponent the Fireball and they opt to Fireball the Goblin Barrel every time, that's going to be a positive trade for you, so don't worry about the Goblin Barrel being countered just by the Fireball. And now folks, my final tip for you all today would be to always set up your rotation so that you always have those counter cards in hand whenever your opponents decide to use one of the cards that you gave them. So by doing this, you'll always keep them in check and you will never be caught with your pants down basically. So your guard will always be up and they will not be able to do anything to really stomp you in the blink of an eye. So when you're playing with a person who is using the Goblin Barrel, keep your arrows handy, keep your log handy. But I repeat this just for reiteration's sake, be very careful when playing a Goblin Barrel user, especially if they are very used to using the card, which you will not know until you play the game with them a bit. Just be very mindful that people do learn to trick their opponents with the Goblin Barrel and minor placements. So if you're playing an opponent who knows how to throw the barrel just off a little bit to avoid some zaps or arrows or anything like that, just be very careful when you're using your other spells. Generally with arrows you're safe, but just follow that shadow of the goblin barrel while it's flying across the arena. By following the shadow there, you can just determine where the goblin barrel will land. But again folks, just be very careful before you release that spell, because if you miss, it can be very punishing if the goblins get to the tower there, especially if something is tanking and you're broke on elixir after spending the spell. And with that folks, we are now finished with our drafting tips and our 2v2 tips for this event. Now let's just talk about some of the possible combinations of cards that you can use together to form some really deadly and very punishing pushes with the cannon card. So our first combo is going to be with the ice column and the cannon card. So by pairing up the ice column with it, you're going to have a cheap tank in front of it which can clear away small units like the skeletons really there, and if Frost Nova does manage to catch anything, it will slow down the troops, and if these troops happen to be something like minions, you can actually zap them away once they've been just, I don't know, slowed down I guess, and they will die, so your cannon card can continue onward without any worry. And now folks, for our next combo, it will actually comprise of the battle ram and the cannon card. So this is one of those do not try this at home folks kind of combos there, because you're going to be running 9 elixir there and you don't know what your opponents are going to be throwing at you. So only do this if you are very up on elixir there, so you've been making positive trades over the entire match basically. That's the time when you want to cash in, like maybe the last few seconds just to win the game. I guess you can try to do it, but do not do this early game, especially when you do not know your opponent's cards, their elixir count, or their card rotation. Otherwise you'll be asking for one heck of a nasty counter push. So yeah, just be very mindful of when you do decide to do this combo. So our third combo up is gonna be the poison spell and the cannon card. Now the reason why I say the poison spell is gonna be a very good pair with the cannon card is because a lot of people will try to just surround the cannon card with some swarm troops overall. So by placing the poison, they can't drop anything that flies or walks that has very little HP. Now much like the battle ram cannon card push, it is going to be a 9 elixir investment, so it might be in your best interest not to do this unless you are absolutely sure what cards your opponents are going to use to counter the cannon card, and it may be more effective if you have an actual tank in front of the cannon card, so it will be more worth it like when you're guiding a P.E.K.K.A. or anything. So yeah. Our next card is going to be the P.E.K.K.A. So the P.E.K.K.A. and cannon card combo will be very lethal, especially if you have something that can hit air behind them, like a wizard or a baby dragon. Again, that's also another combo that you can do because it covers up the cannon's aerial weaknesses, so to say. So yeah, if you carry the P.E.K.K.A. with the cannon cards, you can just clear any high HP ground troop, any medium HP ground troop, and with the help of the splash from behind, you can clear any swarm troop. So that will be massive damage being dealt to the tower there, especially once the cannon card locks onto that crown tower. And our last combo here is actually going to be the Hog Rider. In fact, it's not the last, it's the second to last really. So yeah, Hog Rider and cannon card is gonna be, again, lots of these things are gonna be 9 elixir investments here. So yeah, you're gonna find 9 as a reoccurring elixir cost. But yeah, cannon card is gonna be very annoying behind a Hog Rider, especially because it's gonna be rolling up to that tower pretty fast, so you have to be quick on the draw to stop it from locking on. And even after the cannon breaks off of its wheels, it is still gonna keep shooting away at that tower there because it does not retarget after that. Now folks, for our last combination, it is going to be the heal spell and the cannon card. Again, the heal spell is actually very good on offense and defense overall, so you can use this to keep the nuisance of a card alive a little bit longer there, and it's gonna just frustrate your opponents because it's gonna keep shooting away at whatever is walking and just be very deadly on that counter push there. And if you can get it to lock onto the tower on the enemy side, go right ahead and heal that bad boy up just before the shield breaks, so you can keep the fun around a little bit longer there. Now let's just take a look at some useful interactions with the cannon card and some other cards in the game. These can really help you out a lot, so it might be in your best interest to really just take note of these interactions here because they can be really handy to know. So our first interactions are going to be with the cannon card and the heal and clone spell. So we all know the heal spell and clone spell only affect troops and not buildings. So while the cannon card is on wheels, it is technically a troop, and therefore they will still apply their effects on it as long as it still rolls around a little bit. However, as soon as those wheels pop off, it is considered a building, so it will be a waste of 3 elixir if you bother trying to just clone it or heal it then. Now, it must be noted here that when the cloned cannon cart does pop off of its wheels, it is technically gonna have an infinite lifetimer on it because it is the only building that spawns from a troop, so you can't really expect a troop to be cloned and then have its clone live on 1 HP, but since it's a building, it's gonna have a lifetimer, and then, you know, it can't really just live for a fraction of a second. That doesn't make any sense. So yeah, the cannon cart is gonna be the first building that just has an infinite lifetimer again, so long as it has been cloned before. So yeah, that's just generally how the clone spell works with it, because it's not gonna make sense to really have a troop or building up really for a fraction of a second after it has been cloned from a troop. Now our next 3 cards are gonna be the bowler, fireball, and the log. So as we're all aware, the fireball and the bowler have the tendency to push back any medium to small troop really, and the log pushes back any troop on the whole. So since the cannon cart is a medium troop, it will be affected by these cards, and you can in fact knock it back with them. So when you're using the log or anything like that, and you're using it against a nearly dead cannon cart, or when the shield is about to break, you will want to try to push the cannon cart back onto the enemy side, so that when it does pop off of its wheels, it is not within range of your tower, or it is just barely within range of the tower itself, so that the tower can snipe it from afar. And that is going to be very good for you because it will just decay on the enemy side, and there's nothing that they can do about it. Now our next card is going to be the tornado spell. Now this is going to be a funny one to explain here, folks, because as we all know, the tornado spell has the tendency to pull just about any troop in Clash Royale, and it is very strong with combinations of splash troops like the Executioner and Baby Dragon, etc. So the cannon card is actually going to be something very interesting here, because it is going to counter tornado combos in a sense, because once it pops off of those wheels, it is going to turn into a building, and as we all know, tornadoes can't pull the buildings, although they should. They really should. I don't know why. Supercell, rethink that mechanic there a little bit, but then again, nah, keep it that way anyways, because it'll be harder to defend with buildings as well. So yeah, the cannon cart is going to pop off of its wheels there and continue defending, so you don't need to worry about it too much for that 5 elixir investment there. So it's going to be pretty annoying to tornado users there, because it will just remain around a little bit longer and just cause more trouble for them. And our final card here we're going to be discussing with the cannon cart here is going to be the lightning spell. So as we all know, the cannon cart is going to come with a shield. However, its shield is not like the battle ram, so do not confuse it with it, folks. So yeah, it's going to be kind of like the Dark Prince's shield and the God's shield. So it has the potential to soak up a lightning shot for some troops. However, the troops need to be close to the tower there, and the cannon cart has to also be around the troops where the lightning spell is going to be cast. So when your opponent is going to be casting that lightning spell, what will happen is, let's say you have a wizard and an ice wizard there, and you want to protect the wizard at least from the lightning spell. What you'll want to do here is drop the cannon cart near the two of them really there, and when they cast the lightning spell, it will hit the tower first because it has the most HP, then it will move on to the cannon cart because it has the second most HP, and finally it will strike down the ice wizard there. So that's an interesting way to keep your wizard alive against lightning if you have cannon cart in your deck. Something else with a little more HP, just have 2 entities that have just decent HP overall, like a knight and the cannon cart and anything like that, and you can keep the cannon cart on your side for defense and you'll be golden here. But it's kind of a negative trade, so it's very situational, so be very mindful of when you do decide to do this. So that's gonna wrap things up for today's video overall. I'd like to say a special shout out to my friend Broken. If you check my featured channels really, you'll see his channel there. He's a new upcoming Clash Royale YouTuber, and he's actually a very good one at that too. He's been around 5,000 plus trophies, so he's kind of knowing what he's doing overall in the game, so do check him out if you have the time. So that's gonna be it for today's video pretty much here. So as always guys, remember, if you keep digging, you'll eventually strike gold, but even then, keep on digging deeper. You'll eventually come across something even more worth your while. So once again everyone, thanks for stopping by, and I hope to see you all in the next one. Peace out guys.